Welcome to NFW. I am Jen. I am a romantic fiction writer. I write contemporary fantasy and paranormal romance. I decided to start NFW because I wanted to start a channel that focused on writing and the various topics that I cover in my writing. Um, as a romance writer, I spend a lot of time thinking about relationships, thinking about what makes them work, what makes them not, what makes them fall apart, and how women especially react to different situations. As a child, I was an avid reader. I love to have my face in a book. As an adult, I'm kind of the same way. I love to read. I don't have as much time as I used to be able to read, um, but typically, if I have any free time, you'll find me in a corner reading a book and enjoying, whatever one liners has me cackling at the moment. Um, Today, I really just wanted to talk about trust in a relationship. Um, as someone who tends to take topics that most people don't really like to think about, I tend to write stories that focus on really the negative parts of a relationship and how you overcome that. One of the things that I focus on sometimes is cheating. I have three stories in particular that come to mind in which cheating is interwoven into the story at large. That would be Valentine's Day Bride, Twins for Christmas, and Crumpled Love Notes. All three books really feature main male characters who are flawed and female characters who really just have to figure out whether or not they are going to stay in relationships with these flawed men. Um, and one of the things that really stood out to me was the feedback I was getting on Crumpled Love Notes, which is a story about a man who finds out that a woman he had a sexual relationship with when he was on a break with his girlfriend had a child. And really just the aftermath of that becoming public because he was a professional baseball player and he happened to be engaged to his college sweetheart. Um, and I remember reading through the comments, just like skimming along, and one of the things that really became, I don't know, just kind of stood out to me as weird is a comment in which a woman kind of stated, I don't understand how the main heroine did not realize that he was lying to you. Those schedules about training and stuff and games are open to the public. And I remember even when I read that, I was thinking to myself, do women really do that? Women really go and verify the information that their partners give them just to make sure that what they said is the truth? And then if you do, why do you stay in a relationship? Because for me, trust is something that is not easily given and it's easily lost. Um, it's something that I talk about with my friends, male and female, in which have always been the type of person where I'm like, I'm going to give you trust until you prove that you're not worthy of it. And once you've proved that you're not worthy of it, I'm also probably going to kick you out of my life. You're not going to be able to stay. Um, just because trust to me is a deal breaker. I have always been of the mentality that, I can't really lose my mind as long as you tell me the truth, if that makes any sense. And it's really weird to even say it like that, but it's also very true. Like, because I've always believed that trust is like the most important thing, I try not to let my anger overcome me in situations where someone is telling me the truth and I may not like what I'm hearing. Um, and so when I read that comment, I was thinking to myself, that is so interesting. And I really just I want to talk to my friends about it. I want to talk to my readers about it. I want to know whether or not trust is a deal breaker, first of all, I guess. And also whether or not you're the type of person, or whether or not most women are the type of person, because once again, I'm only one woman. I only have my point of view, and every once in a while I'll talk with my friends, but it's not as if there's come a time where their points of view have really overtaken mine. And so I want to know, should I be the girl that looks through his phone? Like, should I be the one who unlocks his phone in the middle of the night and looks through it? Or even ask, should that be a conversation in which we both sit down and we say, okay, I want to have access to your phone. I want to have access to your computer. You can have access to my computer. You can have access to my phone. I have always been the type of person where I'm like, you know what? I'm not really privacy driven, if that makes any sense. I don't really do a lot that I'm ashamed of other people seeing. I spend a lot of my time writing. I spend a lot of my time working, but also just, if I'm doing something where I feel a sense of fear that the person I'm with will find out about it, I usually don't do it, primarily because I'm a really bad liar. Second of all, I am I never really lost that mentality as a kid where you tell on yourself sometimes, like to the point where you're like, oh, I'm so excited I did this and I probably got away with something, but now I kind of want to talk about it. And um, who do I talk about it with? um, uh, uh, Cheating has always been a really taboo topic. I've always known that. I grew up in a household where I was the child of two divorced human beings, and one of them was a cheater. And I saw how that played out in that relationship. And then as I grew older and started entering into my own romantic relationships, I had to kind of confront that as well. And so I'm curious to hear about other people's experiences, but also to really just share my point of view. Um, just because after reading that, I was kind of like, oh wow, I'm okay. Now I'm excited because I'm starting a dialogue, and I really want to hear what other people have to say. Because I've always been of the mind that everyone should be an open book when they're in a relationship. I'm not saying that you need to tell your partner everything. Like, you don't need to tell him every time you go to the bathroom or all that other stuff. But I've also been the type of person who's like, I want a partner who's a friend above all else. Like, I want that person who's going to cheer for me. I want that person who's going to listen to the really dumb story I have about the time I walked into the bathroom and I saw a kid talking about how he had to pee and how I thought it was just really cute. Or um, listen to me ramble on and on about Bridget Jones' Diary because it's one of my favorite movies, and I rewatched it the other day just to see like some of the like iconic scenes in my mind. Um, and for me, I expect the same in return. Like, I just expect you to want to talk to me about the very mundane things that you did that day. And even though it's mundane to me, seeing the excitement and, the passion in your eyes when you're talking about it makes me excited because I want to see that. I want to see you happy. It makes me happy to see you happy, even though, I'm also of the mind that, other people can't make you happy, but that's like a conversation for another day, another video. I would have to like really put my thoughts in order and really just make sense of them to even verbalize them. Um, and so, yeah, so I was reading the comment and I read that particular comment about the fact that, she should be checking up on his schedule. And I was thinking to myself, like, in general, I tend to write very strong minded women characters. I want them to have something going for them other than the romantic relationship that they're in. Um, so typically, it tends to be women who are in the process of getting their education, because quite honestly, when I was writing the stories, I was in the process of going through school as well, so it was just a little bit easier to make that comparison. But also, in their own fields succeeding outside of the relationship that they're in. And so it became something where I'm like, but who has time to do that? If you're in school, who has time to go and check up and see if the schedule is correct, or to make sure that the person who's telling you where, like the person you're supposed to trust, telling you where they're supposed to be, and be like, okay, I know for sure they're there. Um, is that something that women do regularly, even if they happen to have their own things going on in life? Or is it I'm just an outlier? Because that's also a possibility. I'm convinced I'm like the weirdest of the weird 90% of the time. So it wouldn't necessarily shock me to hear that. But at the same time, like I remember about a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a few friends of mine, and we were just talking about like the idea of really just, recording.